side. Right, maybe add a couple little brighter areas where the, maybe we'll come up a little bit higher in some places, a little bit lower in other places. Just along the top, gonna put a little door up so lightly. Hi, welcome to Paint with Josh. Today we did a gorgeous 16 by 20 inch painting with a door to nowhere. Oh, it's just turned out fantastic. You obviously think so as well. That's why you clicked on this one. You want to learn how to paint it. So check the description down below. Make sure you get all the colors you need. Make sure you get your canvas nice and wet. Get ready to throw some paint on. We're going to do it just like this. Hey guys, back in the studio, Paint with Josh again, coming at you. You look fantastic. Wow, what have you done with your hair? It's lovely. I just can't wait to see it. So let's grab a little bit of our Bob Ross liquid white. We have our 16 by 20 inch white canvas here with a little rectangle of some blue painter's tape that I have stuck on the canvas. Everything's nice and dry. And I shook up the Bob Ross liquid white, got it inside the top of the lid, and then we're gonna grab that and just put it anywhere over here. And then you don't have so much. It's not a big glob out there on your brush, right? You see how we're missing the door right now? Because I wanna make sure that we get this and we really spread it out. Now from the side, you can really see just how wet the canvas is. You can see all the dry areas. So just because we're doing this doesn't mean I need exercise, right? I'm trying to get my aerobics in. I'm actually looking and seeing where the canvas is wet, where it is dry. You can do the exact same thing. And then you'll be able to tell, okay, we haven't gone over our door. Obviously we'd be able to see it, right? Take some of that, just spread it across. Not trying to get it to go under the tape, right? We just want it to be around it. It doesn't have to even fully block out. That's just fine, just like that. Now we're gonna take that, really go over it, stretch it to the max. You don't wanna have too much. If it's real sticky on your brush, like a lot of pressure, that means there's too much out there on the canvas. And you should probably wipe it with a paper towel and then come back and blend it out. See, it's not a whole lot of paint on the brush. Now we're gonna wash those brushes. So we'll show you the colors here. We have dark sienna, Van Dyke brown, dark sienna, bright red, yellow ochre, cadmium yellow. We're going to skip over the phthalo green because I don't think we're going to use it. Phthalo blue, alizarin crimson, midnight black, titanium white. Again, we have our 16 by 20 inch canvas. If you're just joining, make sure you're tapping the screen. 16 by 20 inch canvas have the Bob Ross liquid white on it and our mysterious little square. Now we're going to need a few little tools. Nothing crazy. Maybe a 1 inch brush, maybe a solo cup, right? Love using the solo cup around here. So keep that handy. We're gonna go right into the brightest of our colors. Our cad yellow, our bright red, right here. Not too much of the darkers, just a lot of, look at that. Look at the difference. Look at all those gorgeous colors right there. Fantastic. And that way we'll have a very fancy little sky, right? All different colors all over the place. Now let's put it around, I guess, just over where our door is. Gonna take that 1 inch brush just like that. Go around the side. All the way around the edge. Nothing crazy, right? Put that cup away. You don't need it anymore. Definitely don't fill it up and drink from it. That's the key. We're gonna pull some of that out. Have to pull it away from the center because you don't want all that color to kill all that white area, right? You have to save that white area. So very lightly, just like a clock. Maybe we'll start from this side. You guys can see it. Just like a clock from every angle. Trying not to lose that white area right there. Right, that's gonna be our bright white sun. Just gorgeous, fantastic, just like that, right? Look at how the brush has changed from that dark yellow and red and orange that we put on there because it's constantly mixing with that liquid white. So any color that you put on there is going to end up a little bit lighter. Let's go into the yellow ochre and the bright red. And who knows, maybe we'll come out here. Just by mixing them, leave a little bit of white in between each side. And you guys are like, this guy paints like a 6-year-old. I'm telling you, trust the process. A little bit of all of those yellows, maybe down in here. Nothing real crazy. Let's switch color. Go over to the crimson without washing the brush. Come from the top and the outside. Again, leaving that white area right there. You don't want a whole lot of paint on the canvas. It becomes very hard to blend your sky. Nothing crazy. A little bit of blue with the crimson now as we get out to the very corner. And we're gonna slide that in. Different amounts, blue, crimson, doesn't matter, right? Just slide it across the bottom if we want. Make some shadows for our sand or snow or whatever we decide to paint in here. You can take it from a desert scene to a winter scene, back and forth to a jungle scene, to an African Sahara scene, right? But you need a little bit of that dark color as your base shadows. So whatever you put down, whether it be snow, which I might switch to a snowy scene. I really like how this would look as a snow scene. Just like that, but you need that little bit of dark color down there. Never gonna blend the sky. So, gonna change, gonna look totally different. Have to finish the edges, at least with some color for our buyer. Right, and that way, whoever buys it doesn't have to frame it. You can literally hang it right up. Let me just get in your way real quick. I'm gonna finish the bottom over there, and that's just about it. All right. Now, we can wash this brush or we can blend it out. So let's see what we're gonna do. Why don't we go start our blending, right? Take the big old 2-inch brush just like this. Boom, knock the camera over. Come into the lightest area first. You don't want to take any color and put it into our brightest spot first, right? Blend that out. And then as we go, all of that color is going to want to come back and cover our light area, right? You don't want to lose it all, but you can let a little color go across there. Very light right here. Watch this. The more you push, the more that red's going to want to grow in. And we don't really want it to grow so far. So out here, you push real hard, right? But as we get towards that, where the yellow meets the red, very, very soft. That way it doesn't grow down and continue to shrink and hurt our little yellow area down there, right? Out here, same thing. See how we leave those lighter areas? They fill up with paint. It's not like they stay white. It gets filled. Now we're gonna come in from the side. Still haven't washed the brush. A lot of pink color on there. Actually, let's get this side first before we get the brush all dirty. Let's get this side all pink. Bam, bam, bam. Grab the top just a little bit right there. Now, we're gonna go into that. Didn't get any excess color on the brush. Gonna go into this purple. And as we push on this purple, look at how it wants to grow down, right? You can take this and literally get it almost all the way over to that yellow. The harder and harder and harder and harder you pull. So, depends on what you want yours to look like. Maybe we'll save a little bit of pink area in there. Blend this guy out with our crisscross strokes back and forth. All it is softening the paint, blending it together. That's what that liquid white allows. Just like that. Ooh, look, I forgot. We had some darker color up there on the brush still. So why don't we switch to a clean brush and just blend that in with whatever colors are around there. Get that brush hair out of there. Take a step back, see what we got going on. That looks fantastic. Fantastic. In only about 13 minutes, we got a gorgeous looking sky. Woo! Beautiful, right? There we go. Now we've spread the paint out enough that it's not going to transfer from side to side and get all over the place. Now let's wash these brushes off. Go right into the thinner. I use odorless mineral spirits. I call it paint thinner all the time just because it's easier to say. But odorless mineral spirits, dip it into the cup, shake it in there, shake off the excess, and then beat the devil out of it. It comes out nice and clean. It's gorgeous. But always dab it on a paper towel. Just get in the habit of dabbing it on a paper towel. And that way, you don't go up with a wet brush and touch your canvas. That's a bad thing. I have done it before. So, make sure you're dabbing it. You don't have to dab it forever. You don't have to clean them dab them dry for a long time. Just make sure you get a little bit of that wetness off of there. Because even after we beat the devil out of it, it still comes out wet. Bam, just like that. Let's grab 2 fan brushes. See if we can double twist them at once. Bam, 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 right? One for dark and one for light. Because you have to have dark in order to show light, right? So let's use these. Now, instead of going just straight into our darkest colors for our shadows, why don't we start over here with our red and our yellow. That yellow ochre, that darker color yellow, right? Look right on the end of the brush right here. It's fantastic. Bop, come up like that. And who knows, just this giant thing. As long as we stay into these lighter colors, this darker red will stand out. See that? Oh man, fantastic, right? Get over here. And all we're doing is just making a giant mess. It's all you really need, because we're gonna come back with our 1-inch brush. Those fantastic 1-inch brushes that we just washed. Come over to the side, just very lightly. Come pop it up every so often, bring it down. Pop it up, bring it down, maybe pop it out that way, come back in here, go this way. We're back and forth everywhere. And you start to mix it, but you don't want to over-mix it, right? When you over-mix, that's when you run into problems. So come back over here with our lighter colored brush, the one that looks nice and clean anyway. Like maybe it's only been used a couple times. It's because we only ever get white paint on it. Right here like that, back and forth. Bow, come in here and just wherever you think that sun would have lit up that cloud, throw a little bit of that white in there. Just mush it on. It's going to end up blending away anyway, right? We're going to blend it with our brush, so don't worry about how thick it is or anything like that. Poof, don't want to go everywhere, of course. Maybe some over here, some over there. Come back in here. Just anywhere you think that that light might reach, but leave spaces in between for all of that white to grow down. If you don't leave the space, you're gonna regret it, because then all of your white will be all over the top of all the other white. You won't have any more shadows left. You'll have a depthless cloud. Bam, just like that. Very cool, right? And the less you do to it, the cooler it ends up looking. We can even come back. Same old fan brush. Come back in here, right? Maybe add a couple little brighter areas where the light just hit a little bit more, brightened up that spot. Anywhere that you didn't like, you just kind of drop a little bit more of that white over the top. All right, dab off our brush, gets a little bit of that kind of pinkish colored paint off there, and then just very lightly, the more you do this, then the easier it is to mix away. Once you put all that white and then you add another little bit of white on the top, they will really like to blend quickly, so don't let them. Okay, we're gonna come back over here into our crimson, which is that darkest red, that crimson-y color, and then maybe back over into our red as well. Just like that. A little bit into the blue. We're gonna make this little bit of purple. Fantastic little thing, look at this. Okay, now we got this dark mixture on there with red and crimson and blue and purple, and it's all over the place and everywhere and gross. Bang, come up here, right along the edge of this dark area, and dump in some of that darkness. Bring it up in front of that other cloud. Do whatever you gotta do to help push it back. Okay, over here, over there, everywhere. Fantastic. Come back up here, grab that 1-inch brush again, haven't washed it. Come on there, and just start mixing back and forth and back and forth. Gorgeous little thing. Look at the difference, the shadows back in there. All that deep color, deep darkness back in here. I even want mine a little darker too, so we're gonna take more of that blue and crimson, just really mess it up back there. And that way, look at this, as it blends down, or blends back into that other section, maybe we turn our brush and we go this way. Whatever we do, it's gonna end up looking really cool. Look at that, very dark and shadowy. Right, and then maybe all the way back here, I just couldn't get, all the light couldn't reach all the way back here. So maybe we just light up a couple little areas of this guy, just all cool. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be there's no specific shape for a cloud. There's nothing that says your cloud has to look like a cartoony little cloud or like this cloud even. It doesn't even have to look like mine, right? You make your cloud however you want it to. Mix it up. And that little bit of randomness is what gives us clouds those really cool effects. Right, the more and more and more you mix, you can mix all that white away into just the softest little thing you've ever seen way back there. Very, very cool. Very cool. All right, let's take our white brush. We're gonna wash off that white fan brush. Straight into the bucket, gets it coming out nice and clean. Maybe grab a little bit of that white paint, mix it down, just like that. Boom, come up and knock you guys over. Maybe a little bit up here. Who knows? There was the smallest little bit, right? It doesn't have to do anything, really. Really doesn't have to look like anything. It doesn't have to cover anything. It doesn't have to do anything. A little bit of white. Mix, 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 mix. Very, very, very light pressure. And we'll go this way. Come back over here. Trying to stay out of your guys' way so you guys can see the best view. Right, and even over here, it's a little bit too bright. I want to get a little bit of that darker color come down from up there, right? Just to blend it with the bigger 2-inch brush. Kind of pulling it towards, there we go. And the more and more and more we blend it, the more it will kind of just match up exactly how we want it to, like that. Okay, come back with our white, and maybe along the edge of that darkness, brighten it up just a little bit, because our sun's down there. It's going to light up a fair amount of the cloud here. So we're just going to mix backwards, maybe going clockwise or counterclockwise. However you think your sky is going to look the best, if you add that other little piece of cloud, that's what you do. Okay, we're going to come back across the whole thing. Take our 2-inch brush, swipe up very softly. And there's not a whole lot of paint on the canvas because we've blended those clouds out. We spun them, right? We twisted them down with our little circles. And that way it's not so thick that when we go across it, we picked up a fair amount of paint on the brush. You know what I mean? Brand new brush. So the point is, it's not so thick that when you go across it, you're going to smear anything across your canvas, right? And that is the key. Now, we're going to come back over here. We're going to grab up a little bit of our black, crimson, and blue, and make this far off little forest, way off in the distance. All right, so way back here, maybe snag a little bit of that white, mix it up in there. But the lighter you go here, remember, it's going to become lighter. Even this dark color, it's going to become much lighter when we put it on the canvas. So don't grab too much white. Very cool. The more blue you have too, the more wintry it feels. Just like that. Okay, let's wipe off this knife. We're running out of spaces to wipe the old knife off. And come back with that same old brush right here. Get it on all sides, just like that. Back and forth, load it up so it's like an old hatchet blade. It's all nasty. And then, who knows, we'll come in here, stick it to the camera lens, and then, I don't know, maybe over here we popped it down. A couple little things start to live out here at the base of those clouds, right? Very cool. Just little things, little teeny tiny bits. Go back, get some more paint. Right? You gotta have the paint on there if you want it to be sharp. Maybe this guy was like the old daddy of the forest out here. Just a couple little details at the top, that's all you need. All right, and then blend him in with the whole rest of it. Maybe we go across our whole bit of forest even. Or our door, our intended door. Maybe we'll come up here, go down, go across. We'll just go across the whole painting. We're already over here, might as well. Just go across the whole thing. It's almost like you can't even see that that door was ever even there now, right? Take that old 2-inch brush again, very lightly, swiping it up. You can see what it does to those trees. It softens the paint down, makes some of them lighter, makes some of them darker. Don't go up and touch the top of that tree. That'd be a bad idea. Hey, just like that. Don't even have to finish these guys down here, because we're going to take the same brush. We're going to come back, tapping it in, just like that. Maybe we'll come up a little bit higher in some places, a little bit lower in other places. All the while, it's mixing in with that liquid white, dragging some of this darker color down, dragging some of that lighter color up. Every time we go down, we're bringing up light, and then we're taking down dark, and back and forth, and back and forth, and back and forth. Point of it is my fog is not all the same height. It's all different. And that's the fun part. Down like that. We got this whole little faraway floating bit of forest back there. And then what I tell you about that purple, right there, you don't even need to paint snow. You got snow right on the ground, right here in front of us. Fantastic. Okay, let's do, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do, Joshy? What are we gonna do? Okay, let's come over here. It's so funny because I make these things up as we go. And everyone's like, oh, like, you're so good, or, you know, you Bob Ross imitator. I'm like, bro, I didn't practice this painting before. I'm literally making it up on the fly right here in front of you fine people, right? Now, let's come over here. Maybe we had one tree over here. Just like that again. Maybe we'll make them a downward, saggy facing tree. The old saggy Bob Ross trees, right? I like to paint mine with these upward branches. Bob liked his kind of sagging down. They look just like a little older, like they needed something. They needed some love, some more water, something. Something. All right, now we're gonna make up a little bit more of that paint. I'm gonna come back here, our black and crimson and blue. Grab it up over here, mix it up into that same dark color. Excellent, just like that. Remember, if this is the first time watching a Paint with Josh video, or if you just tuned in, tell me where you're watching from, what time it is, and what's your favorite sandwich. I always love to know. So we're gonna come back, grab that same dark color, just like this, back and forth across our little hatchet blade of a fan brush, right? And come in, maybe we had a little smaller little buddy lived in there like that, but this is a Paint with Josh upward facing tree, right? So we're gonna come in, we're just gonna tap, and the more that we push with our brush, the more it extends, creating those little bushy shapes. See the difference? Old sad tree, Paint with Josh tree. Just seems like it's more uplifting, and it's just having a better time. Having a better old time. All right, now let's take our half round brush, and now you know what, we're gonna save it. Why don't we come, we'll give some other details over here. We'll save that for a second. And maybe, you know what? there sure was. But let's do it afterwards. Okay, trying to piece out where I want my door to be, where I want the land to live, what it's going to look like, because depending on the shape of, you know, the direction of our little poles, it's going to change. You know what I mean? So I'm leaving mine right below where my tape is for right now, just for this moment. Pull down, pull to the side, pull to this side. All of a sudden you got a little hill that's living right out there. Just depends on how you pull your brush, right? That's all that it really is about. Okay. Who was here when we at the very beginning and notices that there's some blue tape right here is what I want to know. Or who scrolled to this part of the video. All right, let's do, you know what? Well, I don't want to do it because of that big old tree back there. It looks so good. I don't want to put anything in front of him to ruin it, right? Then we go over here though. A little bit taller. Down like that. A little bit taller than our tallest trees, right? And down further if you want it to sit in front of this guy. We're going to leave that there for right now. And let's go back and fix what we got going on over here, because I got a really cool little idea. So, come back, peel off our tape. That's all I want to do. Get it up enough. Bam, now we have a little door straight into nowhere, right? It's going to be fantastic. Wow. Put some stairs on it, do something. Do something. All right, let's go back to that brush. Our half round brush, our bush making brush, dab it in like that, and then we're going to come out over the edge of the door. So we have a little bit of bush kind of hiding it. It's pushing it back, right? Nice and globby and gross, just like that. Now come in, take that guy, you start to slide him out, feed him however you want, leading up to your door. Does your door float in the air, or is it attached to the ground? All things you got to think about, right? You're like, well, I've never done a door like this, so I don't really know. Couple little bits. I don't want to hide the entire thing. Just a few little things. Actually, that looks cool if it was like a bigger bush. Maybe it's like 2 bits of bush back there. Kind of neat, right? Or say if you get too close to your tree, which is what we did. Get too close to it, you can take parts that you think you're going to cover and just wipe them off with a paper towel, right? That way, there's less paint on the canvas. You don't have to worry about it. And come over here, grab up some of that paint, flatten it out onto our brush. Not all the way up the bristles. You don't need it all the way. Going to come in from our angle and just start making little taps with the smallest amount of pressure, even bouncing back and forth right now, right? We're bouncing back and forth, pushing. I'm going to rotate the brush, and then we're going to pop it over our little bit of bush back here that we almost need a bit more of, just because this tree turned out so skinny. There we go. Now we're going to come back in. What side was I using? Who knows? We'll push up on this side. There we go. Start bouncing out our branches, just side to side, side to side. Doesn't really matter. Maybe there was a rock back underneath this guy. Who knows? We'll figure it out when we get there, right? Looks kind of cool though now that there is. Okay, going to come back with our brush. Maybe you guys can see it from when I do it here. Popping it out, back and forth, until you decide, you know, how far you want to go down. All we're doing is putting in shadows right now, right? Little bits of shadowy tree. Very skinny top to this guy too. Might have to add a little bit more just to make him symmetrical in my own mind, right? There we go. Very neat. Okay, now all depends on what we do. So let's not get too far away. We need to wash off a 1-inch brush, get some white on it. And maybe in our little snowy scene back there, we had just a little bit of snow coming right in front of that door. Maybe it's just light emitting from the door itself. Whatever it is, it's fantastic. All right, push this guy out a little bit different angle. Maybe he goes over here. And a whole nother little thing. What's happening out of here? All this mystery back here. It's very cool. Very cool. See how we crisscross those angles back and forth? And that way when you come in with the next set of white, it's not really white on top of white on top of white. We can come back in here, grab up that bit of white, and then leave that little line in there, right? That little bit of difference, that darkness. What's happening? Oh yeah. All depends on our brush strokes. Depends on what your snow is going to look like, right? So if you don't want it to go down that far, or you want it to change, maybe it changes angles over here. It goes from that around here, you start creating a little ridge. All things you can do just very simply and easily. Depends on how you pull your brush. That's really it. A little bit of blue with our white, and we'll pull that on this side. Just that little bit of difference in color is going to trick your mind into thinking that that side's in the shadow. Don't ask how it does it. I don't know. I'm not a brain surgeon. Very cool. Very cool. It's like a little pathway back here. We're starting to build, right? What's going to happen over here? What do we need? Who knows? Who knows? All right, let's go back in. Oh no, we didn't get out any liquid white. All right, we're going to take a break. It wasn't very clean right here at the top. Otherwise, I would just leave it pure white. But I think it needs just a little bit of brown. So I'm going to take both these two browns and mix them up just good. Mix them up very well. We're going to scrape up the smallest bit, and just along the top, I'm going to put a little door frame. Right? Smallest little thing. Like it appeared out of nowhere. Or maybe you said an incantation and opened it up to the universe, right? Very cool. Just make sure it's as straight as you can get it. Otherwise, it's going to look shabby. There we go. Excellent. Now remember, painting on that dry canvas is so much different than painting on the wet part of the canvas. So be careful when you go into there. It's going to be, especially the people that are like, oh, when I put out the first one the other day, everyone they're like, oh, it'd be so cool if you did this on the inside, if you did that on the inside. And I was like, yeah, that would be. But that inside is pretty hard to work with sometimes when it's dry. Definitely a different feel, that's for sure. Come back over here and just keep getting it up on the knife until it's straight enough in my mind. Straight enough. Get a little bit up here in the corner. There we go. I like that. It's like a beam opened up. Boom! The door's so wide open, it's so bright in there, you can't even see. Fantastic. What if we took a little bit of the white snow in here too? Just little things where it's super bright right outside the door. Super bright. Remember those angles though, you have to work on those angles. They've got to be correct. There we go. Then we start seeing less and less and less detail in the snow the further we get away from it, right? Or you can come back in very lightly with your 1-inch brush, which I like to do. I don't like it to be so textured when it's out there. There we go. Very light. Come in like this. All about the angles, remember? Angles, baby, angles. All about the angles. There we go. Leave that little shadowy area too. It doesn't all have to be the same. Perfection. Literally doesn't. Maybe drag a little bit of this guy up there. There we go. Now you got that little lip, little difference. Little differences, all we need. All right, come up, come down the other way. Just like the waves, we practice all sorts of stuff. All right, now we got our clean dry brush. We need to grab some liquid white out of the old jar. It's gonna look just like that. Now we grab that, and I like to put it in the top of an old jar. Right, call it my petri dish. It's all gross, and most of the time it's wet still. It's got tons of colors in it from different paintings and different things that we've highlighted. And it's just a gross little petri dish. I imagine there's things growing inside of it, which is why we call it a petri dish. So we're going to grab up a little bit of that liquid white. We're going to decide we need to make like a pretty snowy highlight color, maybe like a pink. We have all these gorgeous colors on the palette. We might as well do something fun, right? So grab up our brush like this. I'm going to leave that door just like that. That looks fantastic. All right, a little bit of red coming in here with our liquid white, our titanium white, just making it wet, making it slippery. And that way it'll pop right off and stick right onto your bush, right? And I'm gonna clean that off because I don't want that color again. A lot of times I'll use the same color for all the bushes because it's so easy to do, right? And that's not the best sometimes. I like to have I always talk about differences in color and then I go and do the same little tree or the same color bushes or this, that, or the other. And get a little bit of green. This kind of greenish yellow. Gorgeous. Look at all those different colors in that brush. Oh my, that is fantastic. And come up here. And we'll pop in a couple up there. Maybe use a different side of the brush. Oh, and get just a slightly different color. Very cool. Very cool. Pop those guys in there. Don't try to cover up all that darkness. You need it. You need all that deep darkness. You gotta have it. And I like that they're kind of hanging over the edge of the walkway there. That's very cool. You know where we could use that color too is across the other side. Maybe we pop another one in over here. Just so little. Like that light is kind of emitting all of these things. All right, now we're gonna come back. We're gonna grab up our liquid white again. Go over here. Let's get a little bit of our blue for this guy. All right, go over here, grab our blue and our white. We're gonna come on this side of the tree and just do, I gotta get in, either have to get in the way or like really far out of the way. Just gonna do a couple little blue shadowy highlights on this side. Just a couple. Nothing too crazy, right? Just on the darker side. And then we're gonna come back to that liquid white and our titanium white or that kind of pinkish mixture, whatever's there. We'll just mix them all in together. Just like that. And we're gonna come up here, tap the top, see if we can get that to go the smallest bit white. And then up here, it's hard for me to show you guys without being in the way. So just tapping up, right? Just popping in a couple little things here and there. And then maybe down here, we wouldn't see them all anyway, right? Never gonna see all the branches to all the trees or the limbs down around the bottom. Bam, just like that. Got a very cool filled in little tree. And come over here, see if we can't get just the smallest little indication on this guy because he's a little bit further away. We might not see everything on him, right? And then on this guy, he was just on this side, the old downward facer, right? Just a couple little things. Don't need a whole lot of highlight on it, really. You really don't. That's very cool. I like that. All right, what we need is another little bush over here, though, to kind of finish off this side. All right, the bigger you make it, and the further it comes down, the closer it's going to be to us. They're standing out here, right? Again, with the angles. So if this one was on like a smiley face, I'm just trying to line up those little smiley face angles with the next guy. Just like that. You know, my problem when I do these things is I never make it as dark as I want it to be. If you really want it to be dark down here and kind of cast a shadow into your snow as you're pulling it out, you have to have a fair amount of paint. Right? That way, as we pull down and that darkness mixes in, you get that little bit of shadow casted underneath it. Very cool. Very cool. I say that a lot in my TikTok videos, I found out. Very cool. I'm like, congrats, Josh. Very cool. Good job on that one. Good job, Josh. No one else says it to me, so I gotta say it to myself. Jeez. All right, got a little bit more of that liquid white out. I always say white out and think of white out, like on, you know, paper. But no, that's not what we're talking about. I got the white out of the jar. And that way we can go back and highlight some more stuff. All right, maybe we had some weird thing happening back in there where we could see all these greens and yellows and pinks and stuff. But out here, it's gonna be much more wintry, shadowy, blue and white. We might be able to use that pink. But I'm gonna grab up some of that liquid white onto the brush over here, put it back into our little spot, maybe right in front of that blue again. Grab the littlest touch of blue, come over, dab it up, right? And then we're gonna come on to our shadowy side where we might think there may be just a little bit of shadow back here that the sun can't reach or that this door's not lighting up. Just a tiny amount of pressure. I didn't try to smush it on. I didn't try to squeeze it or mix it with that darker paint. It was just touching it so lightly, and whatever came off is what came off. All right, I'm gonna go back to that liquid white. I'm gonna go over into our titanium white. All right, get a good little mix. Just like that. I'm gonna come back in here. And again, anywhere that you think might have gotten that little bit of white, throw it in there. It looks really cool. Really cool. I'm gonna pop one out right there. Bam, right in the front. Just like that. Right, now we'll take the bottom. Maybe add a little bit more of our dark color down in here. Same little angles, right? Meeting up with that little smiley face. Now we'll go back to our white. Different brush, of course. And just match those guys up. And the more and more you go over that, the darker it's going to become. It's going to mix in with the dark color that's under there. Angles, 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 angles are most important. I say it all the time. I really do say it all the time. All right, let's get a little bit more. We're going to come back over here. And we're going to mix up a whole bunch of this dark color again. I want to put one more big old tree, just as gorgeous as this guy, because he needs a friend. Everybody needs a friend. Maybe we put a cabin off back there, way off in the distance. I mean, no, because it's got to be big enough, and that's going to take longer than I want to spend, really. So let's do a monster tree. And I can hear London going, oh, no, don't, no monster trees. She doesn't like my big trees. She thinks the sky is so beautiful and the background is so beautiful. Why would I cover it with a giant monster tree? And I'm like, babe, you got to have depth. Depth, right? We're going to go right in between these, maybe right there. It doesn't even need to be as big. It can be a little bit smaller. Maybe it's like a path around the side. Oh, you know what? Let's move it over to the edge. Let's move it over here. A little bit. I'm going to make it just a touch taller, if not the exact same height, but come down further. And that's going to make it look closer, right? We come in here with the corner again, just dabbing up so lightly, right? Bam, leaving little things. And then the harder you push, it starts to look like a branch. Then you go, okay, I'm going to pop down a little bit. I'm going to rotate. I'm going to come again. Maybe come over from over here. Little differences, little things start to happen. All these little fingers are hanging off of our canvas. Fantastic. All right, gonna come over here again. Grab the base right there. Leave this guy right against the side. No room for any other buddies. Fantastic. Remember, make it dark down here. I never make it dark enough. And then we'll come back. We're gonna grab our 1-inch brush again. Start to meet up with this little smiley face of a line, right? That little hill, whatever we had going on over there. Take this guy down here. Or if you didn't want to show so much tree and you wanted to have a little bit of bush at the bottom, which is probably what we should have done. You scrape all this up, whatever you don't want to show. Scrape it off. You're not going to hurt the canvas. Look at that. I can make a mountain out of that much paint. Man, that's a lot of paint. I'm going to save that on my palette. It's so much paint. Okay, now I'm going to come back to that big bush making brush. I'm going to scoop up all the rest of that paint, really get it in there so it's globby on there, right? Then we're going to come back in, just pop and move, and pop and move. And you get all these cool little things start to grow down here, right? Very cool. And some of them aren't even connected to the bush, which is my favorite part. They're just kind of floating there. Really neat. And it's so simple. It's so simple. You just have to have the right amount of paint on your brush, the right amount of pressure. Right? It's all about paint, pressure, and practice. Josh's 3 P's of everything. Paint, pressure, practice. That's all you need. That paint in there is so thick. There we go. Very cool. Take this guy down here, that little bit, right? As long as we don't grab any new color, you can blend that guy back. Turn him into a little shadow right at the edge of our ridge right here. Very cool. And remember, we're going to be pulling these little bushes out so we have a little bit of land kind of back underneath them. I never like to have everything going just straight off the canvas. Watch, maybe we'll push these guys out here. Opens it up just a little bit more, right? Very cool. And then when we come in with our snow, it'll seal it all up. Okay, we're going to go back with our liquid white and come over to that light blue section that we had. A little bit of blue, right? A little bit more blue than last time, so they'll be a little bit darker. They're closer to us. This one's a little bit closer. We're going to come over here, tap the side, and again, try to stay out of your way and just tap up on the left side of this guy, just every so often. Don't need to cover everything. You can rotate the brush and turn it and this, that, and the other, right? Just a few little blue things back here. It's such a close color to our eye that white and blue make the best little shadow. I'm telling you. You gotta have a shadow if you're gonna show the light, right? Otherwise you won't see your light. All right, let's go back a little bit more of that liquid white into our white and titanium white up here. Just a little bit. Gonna come over here again, maybe tap the top just to get a little of the stick on there, and then just start tapping so lightly though. You don't wanna tap too hard. You don't wanna push too hard. See what I mean? Starting to grow it down. All these little things are living inside of your brush, waiting to be released. Look at that, fantastic. This guy's a little far away there. A little far away. So I'm gonna try to sneak some darkness back in, just thicken up the tree just a little bit, and then go back and try to get a couple more little bits to stay in there, just like that. All right, the more and more you tap, the more bright areas you're gonna have. Darker areas are gonna go brighter. You're gonna lose all your depth, so don't do it too crazily. Leave that blue in there. Don't cover it all, Josh, as he covers it all. Okay, just like that. Now we need to come back with that other brush. Still got a little bit of our white mixture over here. Come back with that liquid white. And again, you want it to be the right ratio. So liquid white, and then tap it into that paint till you get those little fingers, right? That's what I like to call them. You're gonna pop out over here, different places, very lightly touching. Don't need to highlight the whole bush, right? Not gonna see all the little things that are happening back there. Now we're gonna come back just very lightly. Where's our, yeah, that's the brush. That's the brush that we need. It's just got some dark paint on it. So wash that off, come back with our white. And if you grab a little bit of liquid white with your white here, it's okay. All right, slide it up, slide it back into the bush. Very softly, just from the edge like that, okay? Now, I don't want a whole lot of paint or a whole lot of liquid white on there, because now I want to make it soft. And you don't need the liquid white to have it stick to the floor, or to the, the base. Canvas down here is our snow. I just happened to run it through where I was making some of our highlights, right? The thicker the paint, the better, especially for close-up snow. There we go. Feeding it back into the bushes though. Just like that, you get all those cool little things. That's a fantastic paint. Okay, we're gonna go into our low odor mineral spirits, right down into our purpley mixture. You can use whatever color you want. Doesn't have to be a certain color. But I like using a shadowy mixture, very thin little brush. Look at that. It's so small. I've literally modified it many times. So we're gonna take that brush, bam, come up here. I don't know, we'll come down and make this little flick, just like that. And I may need to get more paint on the old brush. I'm gonna come in here, another little one, and then there. And these birds, they're not just carefree little birds flying through the scene. They represent something. They represent myself, right up here, my wife, and my daughter. Well, our daughter, our gorgeous daughter. And they go into every single painting as part of the signature. So, if you think you have a paint with Josh, and it doesn't have those birds, then you probably don't have a paint with Josh. There's only like 4 paintings that don't have those birds. Let's see, we're gonna come over here. And come down with the old Josh Hancock. Just like that. Very cool. I'll take it. Well, guys, this one turned out fantastic. I'm so happy that you stuck around and wanted to paint this one with me. I can't wait to see what your version looks like. And until I see you guys again next time, take care. Have the rest of a good day. And pow! All right.